What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hoops and Cards, a Thursday edition where I'm going to talk a bit about some current things going on in the NBA, the world of sports cards, basketball cards in specific, because that's what we are about. Hoops and Cards, baby. The podcast, now the YouTube stream, the live YouTube, sometimes live, like right now, not quite live, but I'm Gary, your host. I'm thrilled to be live now, at least coming at you from Northeast Ohio, talking to you about basketball cards for collectors and investors. And today, even with a little bit of listener feedback from some of you from around the planet, our previous episode a couple days ago, we talked a bit about Zion Williamson and the resurgent Pelicans, and Zion as a possible MVP candidate. Let's just call it what it is. He's playing great. He's fulfilling a lot of that potential that he did start to show a couple years ago. And everybody thought when he brought the hype back into the NBA and his hype into the basketball card market, we thought Zion is the man. Well, when he's healthy, he actually is the man. And I'm not, I don't own any Zion Williamson cards right now. I don't gain anything by telling you this. A few days ago, that episode was like, look at what's in front of us. Before everybody else who's paying attention to American football or the World Cup, France and Argentina, baby, I don't know who to root for except Argentina. So go Messi, take care of business, buddy. And Paolo and everybody else there, Mascherano. Kaká. I don't know how many guys I could name, but Kaká. But anyhow, I mentioned Zion as a guy to be on the lookout for. And I love when our listeners give us feedback. Like, you guys always feel like you can send me a message directly at Hoops and Cards on Instagram or email me, Gary@hoopsandcards.com. Love to hear from you. Tell me where you're listening from. This guy, Joshua, by the way, it's not his first time messaging me. Love his input. Grateful for him. About Zion Williamson. That was the title here. Zion, question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. Don't do it, Gary. Zion is a flash in the pan. He's going to get injured and put on a ton of weight. Think Sean Kemp at the end of his career playing in Cleveland. I hear you. And if you're saying, Josh, don't do it, like don't buy Zion Williamson's. I mean, that's why I've been a little bit nervous because it's not like he had one injury. He's had several. And it's not like he was out for a couple of weeks. He was out for a year. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. And so I get that there's a lot of risk baked into the Zion Williamson conversation. However, are we looking at a short window of time really to potentially, number one, enjoy the rise of a healthy Zion, and the Pelicans are in first place in the West. Number two, the All-Star game's coming up. Zion seems like a lock for that. And number three, I'm not even sure if I had a number three, but if I did, he might be in the MVP candidate conversation. He might be a 1 or 2 seed if the Pelicans can. I mean, they haven't had all 3 guys healthy at the same time. So Joshua, I hear you. Like, there's a warning, there's a caution there when it comes to Zion. There's a risk. That's why going into the season, I think I had Zion on my top 5 risks, 5 biggest risk, big reward players in sports cards. And there's a lot of high price Zion cards already. So maybe you're not finding good deals. Maybe you don't think he's worth the risk. I totally understand that. But Josh goes on and he says, what are your thoughts about buying Cade Cunningham now that he is out for the year? Like, ironically, that you just threw a huge red flag about Zion and now a little curiosity about Cade. And, if I were to do a series in this episode to talk about guys on the rise or guys on the decline, guys going up, guys going down, who's hot and who's not in cards or on the court, I jotted down a few names of guys that were going down because I thought instantly of Cade Cunningham, literally, physically going down, injured for the season. I feel for you Pistons fans. Paul at nooffseason.com. I'm sorry about your Detroit guys. It could be a time then where other players step up and they have to carry the load. That might be good, preparing them to play more key roles on the Pistons long term when Cade is back. And of course, when they add Victor Wembanyama, I can't even say, when they add Big V, Victor, to the team next year, the other guys going down, I would say just around the league in card values and just in suspense over how they might do this year would be other stars on tanking teams. And maybe they're tanking because they really want to and they need the pick. They need to get Scoot. They need one of those top 5 to 7 picks where you got a difference maker coming in. Like, you got a franchise cornerstone. What I'm hearing is the top 7 possibly are great players. And so if you're a team like Utah, Orlando, San Antonio, Houston, Detroit, yeah, there's some intentional tanking going on. There's also some, I guess, we're not that good tanking going on. And I don't know how far in advance you can project what you're going to do as a franchise. Some teams that I thought might tank looks like they're not gonna. Like, they're actually playing hard. Like, that's where the thing with Utah Jazz, they're actually playing hard and they started out strong. They still win. Portland, I thought, man, there's a chance they might tank and just tear it down to the studs, to the Dame Lillard and the Simons. But really, those players, and I'm talking about guys going down that maybe they used to be all-stars, but they're on such bad teams and they're not playing well. Can't say that about SGA. I still like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as a buy right now and as a buy long-term, meaning at any point in the next few years. I like him. And let me clarify something. Can I just level with you people in YouTube land and in Hoops and Cardsville, wherever you were at listening? I'm glad you're here. Like Josh giving us a shout out. It looks like maybe Josh is in Boston, asking if there's potential to grab Robert Williams before he comes off the IR for the Celtics. Yeah, I mean, low key, sort of like when you're buying role players, you're counting on those guys to either have an increased role or to go far in the playoffs and have their names like, they're gonna. I don't know why I keep doing movements. Maybe it's because I'm now on video. I feel like I got to be all like animated and stuff. Just talk. Just sit back there, talk about Robert Williams. Another dude that's injury prone. You keep asking me about these injured guys. Maybe that should be an episode, like what to do when a player is injured. Buying opportunities, caution opportunities. Robert Williams would be a cheap and easy buy from that 2018 rookie class, but I don't know what the upside is there because a lot of times the card market responds more powerfully to players that score a lot, players that lead their teams, and players that make a lot of highlights. And so the Celtics already have Jason Tatum and what's the other guy's name? Jaylen Brown. Notice I didn't call him what's his cheese, because Jaylen Brown has eclipsed that whole level. He's on a new wave. We know what his cheese is. His cheese is Jaylen Brown. So Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, they've got other Malcolm Brogdon. They've got other guys that can fill up the box scores. Robert Williams is a great, when he's healthy, starter, rim protector. But let me just say this. I am personally backing away from players on tanking teams. And we're in a market that's already a concern. We're in a sports card market that already seems down. You don't have to listen to Hoops and Cards podcast. You hear everybody talking about it. Lucas, Tigers and Bronze, Card Talk, Slab Stocks, like every podcast I listen to, Pack to the Future, nooffseason.com, Sports Card Strategy Show. A lot of these shows, we are trying to help you guys navigate what is a down market, whereas 2 years ago it was an up market. Anything you buy would turn into money, like bowl, and 2 weeks later you're retiring early. Like buy enough Taylor Horton Tuckers and you paid off your college loans. I mean, it was crazy. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I'm not. It was nuts. And now it feels like that those days they're long gone. They may never happen again. I can't guarantee you that, hey man, buy bowl right now, because man, in 6 weeks you're like no. So when Gary says buy, when Hoops and Cards says buy, and this is true of a lot of content creators in the hobby, we're not saying you should do this with your money. That's your money. What we are saying, and what I'm saying here with a guy like Cade Cunningham, man, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, these are young guys with great futures. LaMelo Ball. I'm thinking about great players on not so great teams. Keldon Johnson. I'm looking at you, baby. Franz Wagner, who my son pulled a cracked ice out of a blaster box an hour ago. That was like the box hit. They usually, when you get an awesome card out of a case, they call it a case hit. I don't know if you call it a box hit. I just made that up. Boom, right here on Hoops and Cards. We witnessed word creation history. Box hit, right? Solo hit was a Franz Wagner silver cracked ice. What's my point? Yes, there's some buying opportunity, but when I say buy, right now, if I'm your friend, which I'd love to be your friend, just encourage you and add value to what you're doing and help you learn. And I learn from you guys as well, is to say, look, I'm not buying if I don't know a lot about the player and the card that I'm buying. I'm not buying unless I'm getting a good deal and I've negotiated the best price. I'm not buying in a hurry. And I'm not saying it's a buying market by no means right now. There are good opportunities for those who want to buy. Okay. If you've already decided, hey, at some point I'm going to buy some LaMelo Ball, at some point I'm going to get into, some nice cards of Jalen Green or Kevin Porter Jr. or heck, Lauri Markkanen, you've got players on your list that you're like, yeah, I believe in them. Well, okay. So if you're at that point where you're able and it's a smart thing to buy, well, then prices are pretty good right now. Like that's what I'm saying when I say consider buying Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I've bought a couple and I've sent a couple in for grading recently. In fact, I now have 4. I'm working on number 5, but I've got 4 groups of cards at PSA right now because I've got that membership that's ending this month. That's one of those few ways to make decent money. If you buy raw cards that you and a few other people have said that has a chance to gem. That's a gemmy. Like that has a chance to be a 10 gem mint at PSA on a card that you have selected, that you've touched and you've wiped any fingerprints off of, like you make it look good, send it in as is. $15 a card is great. It's a great deal. So I'm doing that. And yeah, I'm saying now is a good time. Some of those guys that are on their way down, maybe they're going to go down further. My answer on your Cade Cunningham question, Josh, would be something like this. Absolutely. Cade has a fantastic upside and potential in this league, and he's already shown all-star capabilities for a decent sample size so far in his career. So absolutely love him as a future star. During the course of this season, it might be like worth your research to look at Market Movers app. Go to marketmoversapp.com or sportscardinvestor.com. Sign up for one of their levels. You can even download their app for free, but sign up for one of their levels and do some research and say, okay, we know some other guys that were injured all of last season. How did that affect their values? I mean, we just mentioned Zion Williamson. You can look at what was the value of Zion's card doing, in relationship to the general card market, because that often affects everything. But like the Zion cards, what did they do after he got injured? And then when the All-Star game came around and he wasn't there and the playoffs came around and New Orleans, if they were a factor, Zion wasn't there. Like people forgot about. And there's going to be those moments later on this season where, oh yeah, remember Cade Cunningham? Remember Cade Cunningham? The talk will be, first of all, people won't be talking about Detroit as much. Second of all, sorry. Like guys, when the playoffs come around, they're not going to be talking about Detroit. If they talk about Detroit, it may be about Jaden Ivey. It may be about, Marvin Bagley Jr. got 15 points again. It might be Sadiq Bey. Like who's going to step in and fill that void? The team's just going to suffer. That's part of this, but they're also going to play a lot of these young guys. Jalen Duren's Day, the light of Duren's Day. I can't believe I just went there on you, but I'm curious to see what Killian Hayes does, because he had this chance last season and did fairly well. Like didn't play like a 7th overall pick yet, but he did fairly well, right? Isaiah Stewart, nice big man rebounder. He's going to be counted on more for scoring. So Bogdanovich, like they still have some decent guys. My point is people are going to forget about Cade Cunningham several times this season. And then also going into the off season. So just like July and August and September might be low point of the year for all basketball cards, Cade Cunningham will be right there with everybody waiting for you. So Josh, I wouldn't buy Cade's right now, certainly, especially while all of his cards are brand new and they're releasing. Today you could see different videos on YouTube, rips and breaks and unboxings of Contenders Optic. And whenever there's a new set out like that, you go in and you see, well, the big rookies are like Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes, maybe Jalen Suggs, probably not. Who else am I talking about? Franz Wagner, the guys from the 2020 class. Really, I'm like, Isaiah Joe, no. Although he shows up like once every 3 or 4 nights. Prospecting is a hard job. Can I just vent to you for a minute? As I started into this hobby with a little bit of money on the side and a little bit of cards from 2014, I wanted to sell and get some money. I had to buy some prospects. I had to go all in and buy some rookie cards and say, you know what, if this guy turns out, I couldn't afford Zions and Jaws 2 years ago. So one of the guys I bought into at the time, I'm glad I bought into some Darius Garlands. That's turned out all right. I'm glad I bought into some Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders. That's turning out all right. But one of the players that I thought was like, after 6 months or 9 months Like I just gotta admit it was a total whiff. I missed. This guy is not going to get the chance. And when he's gotten the chance, he's just a ball, like just shooter, hasn't met a shot he doesn't like. He's never going to get it when it comes to what it's going to take to succeed in the NBA. And so I've kind of used Nickeil Alexander-Walker as like my guy that comes to mind when I'm like, guys, we all make mistakes, you know. I invested too much early on in Jaren Jackson Jr. and I invested not much, but enough for me to say it about Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And you guys that follow the NBA, one of you said to me a couple days ago, you said in an Instagram, it's like, this is not that hard. Look at the box scores. You can see who's playing well. You could know in advance, maybe it takes a week or two or three, but you could know in advance what players are showing up, what players are playing well, what guys will eventually get the card market's attention. And I had to admit, like, dude, you're not wrong. This is not that hard. Now, to draw a connection to which cards and when, that's a bit more difficult. I try to look for guys that aren't just improving and increasing play time and numbers, but guys that are showing superstar qualities. They have the potential to score 25 points a game or 30 points a game, and not just once. But Nickeil Alexander did it a few days ago, and then he had 19 again, I think, last night. Nickeil getting some playing time in Utah, that team with like 12 guys they're trying to showcase for trades. Well, with Mike Conley down and Mike Beasley, some of these other guys that, you know, Colin Sexton has missed some time. It's like DNP illness, DNP protocols. So COVID is doing its thing again. I guess Paolo's out, and with Paolo's out, might as well shut down the NBA right now. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker, hey, maybe he's just doing this to just troll me, you know. Hey, Gary, what if Nickeil's not gonna? What if, man? What if you still got that optic hollow silver PSA? I don't know, you still got some Nickeils in your prospect boxes. Like I do. But my point is saying prospecting ain't a science. Okay. All I can say is teams that are tanking, those players value, like people tend to lose interest in them. Teams that are on the rise and have young stars that are playing well, I cannot wait people to see Desmond Bane back on the court. I cannot wait, ladies and gentlemen, to see Tyrese Maxey back on the court. That's where these guys belong. I hope they get healthy soon and can play. And it is tragic. It is tragic to see Cade Cunningham go down. It's amazing to see Damian Lillard come back and just dominate like he has. He's been awesome. He's been so good. So good. So here's the deal. After the break, I want to get to some specifics for you about prospecting. That's part one. About current events. That's part two. And a bit of a basketball card 101 thing about which brands to watch for, which brands of cards and where to find them, because I've had a bunch of you ask questions, and I can point you back to a basketball card 101 episode that we went through about reviewing all the brands. It's a good episode, but it's also like a year and a half old. I want to give you a quick, like a Cliff Notes fast version of that, basically gives it all to you in like 5 minutes or less. So let's talk about those issues, current events and brands after the break. This is Gary at Hoops and Cards.